Alright guys, for project number 2, I'm going to show you part of it. I'm not going to show you all of it because I do need you guys to try to attempt some of the skills here. So I am going to show you kind of how to set it up and a couple of the hatch feature and how to do your line types and your layers. So starting this drawing, you have the project 2. We do want you to go ahead and create this basic rectangular shape where you're going to create a series of rectangles and circles based on line types, okay, using layers. So what we're going to do, we can see right now we have an object layer that's white. We have a red line, a red solid line. We have a yellow dotted line, and we have a green solid line. So right now we know we have 4 layers that we need to create, not including the dimension layer. So I'm going to go ahead and File New. Again, if you've already set up the templates, this one specifically will be decimal millimeters. If you haven't set up the templates, you can always use just the regular AutoCAD file and then go into your drawing utilities and set up your units. Again, decimal millimeters. Precision, you can go ahead and go to 0 because we will not need any point anything. They're all whole numbers. Go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and set up my grid right away. The very first thing when I set up my grid is I look for a basic number. So it looks like I see a lot of 50s. I see a lot of whole numbers. So I'm going to actually use 50 as my base number for my grid. So 50. Zoom out a little bit so you can see that. And then for my snap setting, I'm going to go ahead and use 10. I usually like to divide my grid into either 4 or 5 sections. 50 is a nice number where we can do by 10. That means when I start drawing a line, my snap is set here, but it's going to move over every 10 millimeters and allow me to click directly on a spot, which is very, very helpful as I'm doing this drawing. Okay. So before I go ahead and start drawing, I'm going to go ahead and do my layers. I'm going to go to my layers property. When I do that, you can see right now I just have the 0 layer. I'm going to go ahead and create, that's going to be my red layer. I got my green layer. And I have my yellow layer. I can go ahead and if I want to, I can go ahead and create a dimension layer as well. That's up to you. You can see right now all of them are white lines. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. With a continuous line weight. So we're going to go ahead and change that. So I'm going to go to the yellow. I'm going to load. And I did want yellow to be a hidden line. There we go. Select hidden, hit OK. You can see it's hidden now. And I'm going to go ahead and select yellow for that layer. So now that layer is yellow and hidden. Red was solid, just continuous. And then I also had a green layer. There we go. So right now my active layer is still 0, so that's my default layer. That's perfectly fine. You could also just use layer 1, that's up to you. That's also always a default layer. You can't really get rid of those once they're on there. Then my dimension layer, I'm also going to use white. So now that I have that, those are dropped down here in my main layer menus. I'm going to start with just drawing this outside piece. So it's 800 by 650. So I'm going to use a line. I'm already in 0 layer. That's perfectly fine. Click on that point. I'm going to go over 800, enter. I'm going to go up by 650, enter. I'm just going to close this off. Click. There we go. So now I have my outside piece. So now we can see the next thing I have is I have these yellow lines that are 150 by 150. So I'm going to go ahead and change my layer to yellow. I'm going to go up 150. There we go. And I'm going to go over 150. Go down. Let's zoom in there. Now you can see it's not really a dotted line though, right? So what I have to do, so under line type here, Actually, line style. Sorry. LT scale. Sorry. Forgot what I was doing right there. LT scale. That means line type scale. So right now the line type scale is 1. I'm going to go ahead, let's increase it to 50 and see what happens. So now we can see that dotted line. There is no perfect scale for any drawing. This is really about what you want to see visually. Everything's a little bit different right there. Now I have 4 of these, and again, I could go in and draw all these pretty simply. One of the things that I always like to do is I like to go ahead and draw a midpoint. And I can always get rid of this midpoint later. But this always allows me to go ahead and take 2 lines like this and mirror those lines. I can mirror that one. And I'm going to do the same thing with these 2. There we go. There we go. Forgot to hit no. Alright, so I have that part. So the next thing I have in here is I have my red lines that are going to those extension points. So I'm just going to go ahead and change my layer up to red. And these ones are really easy. I'm just going to cover that. Now, if you wanted to, you could trim out the white line that's underneath there. That's completely up to you. It's not really necessary. The red is always going to overdefine the white though. Okay, so now we have circle. So we have a circle at 610. There's a couple ways to make this circle. So you can see center point, 2 point, 3 point. There's a couple different ways to do it. So what I like to do here is I'm just going to do a center diameter because I already know it's 610 millimeters. So I find the center point. I'm going to tell it 610, enter. There we go. Now the thing I do need to change though is right now it's on the red layer. I'm going to select it and just change that to my green layer. There we go. And then I have 2 more circles. Both of them again, 300 is my diameter. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing right here. So that, 300. Forgot to change my layer. That's okay. I can do it afterwards. Go ahead and do that again. There we go. Select. Change both those to green. Now I have those on there. I'm going to go ahead and delete out my 2 center lines. Those weren't necessary. And now what I'm left with is my object. So let's go ahead and throw on those dimensions. So we have dimension. We're going to go ahead and change to our dimension layer. Going from here to here. Whoop. That one more time. Okay, you can see now our dimension didn't really show up very well. It's pretty tiny. So what do we need to do? We need to change our dimension properties. So we're just going to go into dim style. Dim style is our command. Modify. And again, just like that LT scale, we probably need to scale up the size of everything that's going on right here. So we can go to text. Right now text height is in inches. So first thing I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to change this formatting to 0. Let's try to see if this works for us. Close. Nope, not yet. So that was not the correct size. Let's go back into it. So instead of that, what we'll do is we'll change the text size to 50. Change our spacing 50, and the the arrow size 50. Hit OK. Hit close. Again, same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and put a dimension on there. See if this looks any better. It's good. It's probably just a little too big though. So let's go back into that dim style and let's go ahead and modify that just a little bit. 50 was a little too big. So instead of 50, let's go ahead and go to 25. 25, 25, 25, 25. Everything else looked good. There we go. Delete that one. Do a new one. Yeah, that's a much better size. There we go. That looks a lot better. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and finish out our dimensions. Here. We had 3 points on all those. Same thing over here. And then we're going to go ahead and put in our angular. I'm just going to select that. Whoop. That's not angular. We want, sorry. Quick dimension, there we go. We don't want radius though. We want a diameter. So let's do. We don't want the basic linear. So what we can do in that is we can drop this down here where it says linear. It does allow us to modify what kind. So now we do want diameter. So now it should just let us. There we go. That's what we wanted. We got 300 here. 300 here, and we have 610 here. Alright, those are our dimensions. Alright, so that is step 1.